Hey everybody, and welcome to a special edition of CPC EN. My name is Jesper Anker, and behind the camera is Victor Lundqvist. You may have seen some of our videos recently. On Saturday we did analysis of the Welter Aspania. Sunday we covered the day Chris Froome did the impossible. But currently in the UK, it's a bank holiday, and this means the normal presenter of this show, Chris Pritchard, is out enjoying the sun with his family, taking a day off. But since I'm Danish and Victor is Swedish, that means our family are back home not having a bank holiday. We thought, what better way to spend our day than come into our office and sit here and make the best piece of content that we know how to, which is a CPCN. So I hope you enjoy this video, and if you do enjoy this video, please click that subscribe button down below, and if you haven't already, there's a bell button right next to it which turns on all notifications, which means every time we post a video, every time we have a live stream, it goes live right to you on your phone. Over the weekend as well, there was a lot of you that took advantage of the 10% discount code on the CPCN Muck Club and Tea Club. So to all of you that decided to join the CPCN Muck Club, I thank you first and foremost, because so much effort goes into every single one of these videos. And then also, I want to see how you have your coffee in the morning. So if you did get involved in the Muck Club, send us a picture of you and your coffee once it arrives to your location. We'll feature it right in the show. So without further ado, cheers to everybody. Transition. Now, Victor and I took one day off. One day. Like, Sunday was probably the best day in the entirety of the UK summer-wise. At least it felt that way where we live. And we thought, you know what, looking at the stage profile, is most likely be a sprint stage. Everyone was saying Sam Bennett, Gaviria, Jakobsen. If you watched our preview from the Team Time Trial Day, you would have heard me say this. You could say it looks too tough for the sprinters, but when you look at the sprinters here, Sam Bennett, Fernando Gaviria, Luka Meskec, John Degenkolb, Eddie Turns, and a few others, I think they will all get over these tough climbs. I could not have been more wrong. Like, literally, on a scale from 1 to absolutely wrong, it was probably an 11, and I take that with pride, because I wasn't the only one. Amazing stage. It played out the way that everyone wanted to see it. In the Vuelta Aspania, you can never say a day is going to be boring, because then you have this happen. Davide Formolo attacking on the steep gradients, you have Pierre-Roger Latour attacking, you have George Bennett, Roglic, Uran, Quintana, Aru. Yes, the Vuelta Aspania never fails to deliver. Now, before we got to that point in the stage, it kind of panned out the way that we expected it to. You had 4 breakaway riders up the road. One is YouTuber Willie Smith, who I believe doesn't even have a contract for next year yet. Other one was Angel Madrazo, who went up the road to get the KOM jersey. And then you had Sander Amir, who was kind of the talking point of the stage, because he went up in the breakaway to honor his fallen teammate Björn Lambrecht. He went up the road, he did him well. He did him really proud, as he was the last one to be caught from the breakaway. But the real talking point about Sander Amir was that he was fined 200 Swiss francs for allegedly littering in public. And now Sander, who I've met, is a really down-to-earth guy who, let's remember, when he was stung by a bee during a race, he refused to get a cortisone injection because that would require a TUE, and that's just not in his spirit. He'll ride through it, he'll race through it. Look at this face, quite swollen, and you've got to respect the backbone it takes to refuse a cortisone injection. Now, Sander, during this stage, 80% of the litter, he went back to the team bus and gave it to the director in the car. But the other 20%, which is probably 2, 3, 4 beat-ons during the stage, he decided to chuck on the side of the road. And if you're a follower of the channel for a while, you know Chris is a big speaker of not throwing trash on the road, especially in environments where it shouldn't be. But Sander Amé threw it to fans on the road. And yes, technically the UCI regulations state that you should be fined accordingly. But when you're gonna use the laws and regulations to your advantage on and off and not enforce them regularly, in a matter which makes sense, why in the good name of everything that's right in this world do you find this guy when he's doing something great for you? He's marketing your sport. On the stage 1, the Team Time Trial, you find Jumbo Visma 1,000 Swiss francs for obstruction of justice or obstruction of the road of the Koenig Quickstep. That makes sense. But today, fining Sander Amé, yes, he broke the rules, but when you're going to be so lenient with the way you enforce them, come on. Leave your thoughts down below. I personally feel this is stupid. Now when we get into the action part of the segment, of the course, of the stage, I mean, we got to the hill, and very quickly when Victor and I were watching at home, we realized, oh boy, this is steep. And you could see guys like Fabio Jakobsen. I mean, Sam Bennett was gone before the climb even started. But someone like Fabio Jakobsen was grinding such a heavy gear. We think they didn't do their research. We think that they thought it'd be a flat stage and they just took the word of mouth of the press, of the people, of everybody around saying, oh, it's a sprint stage, we'll get ready. So they had a 25 teeth on their bike. And when they hit the slopes of 22%, yes, I mean, if they got over it, they'd be in a good position to win the stage, but you have to get over 22%. And as somebody that lives near the Lake District and have Hard Knot Pass on our doorstep, Rhinos Pass on our doorstep, you want a 32 on there. You want something a bit higher so you can spin up. So Fabio Jakobsen coming to a standstill, oh my god, it's so funny. But at the front of the affair, it was George Bennett, it was Davide Formolo, Pierre Latour attacking early on, and then we just saw Alejandro Valverde. I mean, does this man ever age? Valverde came around Pierre Latour at the top, and then from that point it was kind of Grupo Compacto. I mean, you had at least 3 EF education riders up there with Uran, Higuita, Hugh Carthy, Astana, who looked good the day before, was left to Izagirre and Miguel Angel Lopez. It was an amazing stage, and the way it panned out from that point was quite interesting. So when the descent was done, Roglic and a few others attacked off the front first. I believe it was Mikel Nieve of Mitchell and Scott, followed by eventual red jersey wearer Nico Roach. Then a few other riders realized this is the move that could stick. And with every team having 1 or 2 riders up the front, you just need to get 1 rider across. That's what Jumbo Visma did. They sent Roglic up the road, Uran from EF went up the road, you had Aru from Team UAE up the road. Most importantly, eventual winner Nairo Quintana. This early in a Grand Tour, Nairo Quintana chose to attack? I mean, that's almost unheard of. Nairo Quintana is known to be the kind of guy to attack at the end of the Vuelta, at the end of a Grand Tour. The reason why Quintana won the stage is most likely down to Rigo Uran. So there's no secret that Uran and Quintana are good friends. And when Quintana chose to attack, Uran looked over his shoulder and said, guys, I'm not going to chase this down. It's your move. Everybody looked around. Then Rue tried to attack and a few others tried to attack. But by then, it was too late. The best thing about seeing Nairo Quintana win is how Twitter reacted, because you have some of the biggest names on Twitter supporting Quintana. He's such a lovable guy who, like, you cannot, like, he doesn't really do anything wrong. Sometimes he makes a few missteps strategically, but as a person, he's amazing to watch and following his progression through the last year. I mean, just have a look at this tweet.
This was beautiful. One of the most surprising victories of the season. Grande Nairo. Clapping emoji, clapping emoji, clapping emoji. Hashtag La Vuelta 19, red jersey.
Even better, there was this one from Johnny Brajkovic.
Just a month ago, almost every single journalist was giving shit to Nairo, making him look like the biggest scumbag. But now, well, now he's a hero again. Hypocrites.
You've got to love Twitter. I mean, Johnny Brajkovic, I mean, he's got a point. He's got a very valid point. And with Quintana going to Ikea Samsic next year, he doesn't really need a team, but we'll see if it pays off. For the UK fans out there, seeing Team Ineos totally get obliterated. They were poor in the team time trial. They were poor yesterday. Looks like they're not here to target their GC. They're here to win stages, which isn't really like them. But I'm kind of excited to see a shape of Team Ineos that's just going out there having fun and seeing if they can win stages. Because I think they might be able to win 4, 5, 6 breakaway stages if they choose to go for that, which in turn could see them move up the rankings ever so slowly. Now, the last bit of news before we move on, I know it's been very heavy with Vuelta news, but I mean, this is kind of what's relevant. It's what's in the news, and that's what we're having a lot of fun covering. Victor and I have two fan favorites that are in the Welter Aspania. First up, you've heard his name before, the monster Higuita. I said this guy is poised to do really well in this Welter. He beat Valverde in the stage 2 sprint. He looked like he would have won the stage if not for the breakaway up the road. I think he'll take 2 stage wins. I think he'll be walking away from his first Vuelta with 2 stage wins and a top 10 in his back pocket. On the opposite end of the scale, we have Alex Aramburu, which is Victor's fan favorite after watching him in Vuelta Burgos, turning on the NOS, going whoosh up the road. He looked quite strong and he will definitely be contending a stage here at the Vuelta. My favorite story to come out this entire year of CPC EN coverage is the Chris Froome conspiracy theory, because it's so absolutely absurd that it could be real. I mean, as a Dane, I've been through the whole Michael Rasmussen, oh, where was he? Was it in Mexico? Was it in Italy? I've been through Bjarne Riis saying I've never tested positive and then admitting to being doping. So I don't feel that good towards this story because it has a level of truth to it. But there's been a development in the Chris Froome conspiracy theory because this guy on Twitter posted this.
Hey, Chris Froome, I crossed you twice this morning as you were training with a mate near La Turbie. Was he Geraint Thomas?
Now bear in mind, his Twitter handle is Idiot Do Village, so it could be a troll of Chris Froome. But what actually gives this claim legitimacy is how Chris Froome answered this tweet.
It wasn't me. I'm still not able to ride on the road, unfortunately.
Now this doesn't prove anything. Like all the other evidence in this Chris Froome conspiracy case, it proves nothing. There's no significant proof to prove he did actually crash, and there's no significant proof that he didn't crash. It all happens in this gray zone, and this bit of evidence adds to that now, because could Chris Froome have been training outside? Absolutely. Is there previous precedent of riders training outside when they're supposedly to be in another location? Absolutely. Did Idiot the Village provide any evidence? No. Can we trust his word? Probably not. But it's just another layer in the conspiracy theory that is Chris Froome. Now, if you are a returning viewer of the channel, you will know the debate between Velo Life Cafe and the local council in the area. The local council received a complaint from what seems to be the old pub owner that still lives next door to the now Velo Life Cafe, that every morning on Sunday, Saturdays, you'd have these cyclists meeting and he just does not enjoy the noise they're making. We covered this story through great intent. You saw all the ins and outs, and it's been a while since there's been an update on the case until today. If I'm honest, I did not think the council would go through with it because so many individuals were outspoken against this decision. I mean, you had Chris Hoy, Chris Boardman, etc., Chris Pritchard to add to the list. I mean, it's absurd to think you can ban a group of individuals of meeting on a location like this. But the injunction has fallen and local council has banned that no group of cyclists can meet there with the intention to have a group activity. Now, if you are a cafe and if you are a cycling club and if you do sell cycling clothing and other accessories, that has the potential to clamp the lifeline and just end the cafe. Because if you can't meet up, if you can't have that as your meeting destination and have a pre-ride coffee, maybe a cake, maybe a banana, some gels to take on your ride, that's a lot of revenue that the cafe won't see. So now, of course, Velo Life is fighting it in court, because this injunction has the possibility to end what we now know as Velo Life. But to do so is quite expensive. So they've opened a GoFundMe page where they're asking to raise 15k. And at the moment of recording this, they've raised £8,000. So if you feel strongly about this case, or if you're around the area and you want to chip in, the GoFundMe page will be in the description down below. We wish the best of luck to the Velo Life Cafe owner, because honestly, this could set a precedent across the nation. Today, it could be Velo Life Cafe. Tomorrow, it could be Rafa. Then it could be Look Mom No Hands. Then Giro, and all across the UK, suddenly cyclists are not allowed to gather. And it's just another notch in the belt of cyclist versus the rest. Us versus them. It's just not, I don't understand how this is even a thing, but honestly, that's beyond my comprehension. If you want to support, the GoFundMe page is down below. We'll do our due diligence to keep you updated on any movements in this case, because it could be setting a very important precedent for all our cyclists. Now is the time to click away if you do not want to be spoiled about who won today's Welter Aspania stage. So if you're waiting for tonight's ITV footage highlights, come back, watch that, come back at this point and then watch our analysis. But if you have watched it, we'll get into it in about 3 seconds time. But for everybody who's waiting for tonight, make sure to click that subscribe button down below and the bell right next to it. So when we do make videos like this, they'll get put right into your feed and you'll never miss another video. I guess this is the closest to a Grand Tour sprint stage we're gonna get in the Welter Aspania. It was pretty straightforward. The breakaway went up the road. They had their gap. Angel Madrazo kept fighting for the KOM jersey. He got a few more points in that, and with about 40 kilometers to go, Thomas de Gent said, you know what, enough is enough, I'm gonna try and attack up the road. That attack was quite short-lived, but he was joined by Sepp Kuss, Soler, Paulus, etc. They got brought back relatively easily. But one major loser from that attack of Thomas de Gent is a rider who seems to be quite injured from the crash in the team time trial. Fernando Gaviria just looked like a shadow of his former self. A rider who usually does quite well on these somewhat steep inclines as a sprinter was distanced. And UAE sent back 2 riders to try and bring him back up. But even from these 2 riders, he was getting distanced. So Gaviria, it looks like it's going to be a struggle for him to win anything in this Vuelta. Maybe he's able to recover and do better, but the way he rode today's stage, that does not look likely. Then adding to the Higuita watch, Higuita won the intermediate sprint at the very end. I absolutely adore this man. The way he sprints, how powerful he is. He took 3 seconds, Tuchfeld of Sunweb took 2 seconds, and Roglic took 1 second for the overall classification. Now to the big hero of the day. I mean, a guy on Instagram even DM'd CPC EN directly saying, how long was that pole? Tony Martin, from about 13 kilometers to about 3 kilometers to go, was on the front the entire time, keeping Roglic, or Roglic, as Sean Kelly says his name, out of danger at the front. Amazing. The Panzer wagon is back, and the way he rode that finish, I mean, I tip my hat. That is definitely unreal performance that deserves a massive shout out. Looking at the sprint itself, it was quite messy. Like with 1 kilometer to go, it was only really Sunweb that was organized at the front. The Koenig Quickstep seemed to be a bit of a mess. Bora Hansgrohe was a bit of a mess. Behind Sunweb sat Trek Segafredo, and worth noting that it was Degenkolb who was leading out Eddie Turns, and Eddie is a good friend of us here at CPC EN, and Eddie got second. That's a great result for Fast Eddie, or Looney Tunes as he goes by on Instagram. But at the front, it wasn't even really close. Sam Bennett, without much of a lead out, was clearly the strongest. And now the question beckons, if Gaviria is injured, Jakobsen didn't look to be his best self, he was also dropped early on. Is anyone going to be able to beat Sam Bennett in a heads-up sprint? I mean, if Sam can continue to do like he did today, he should win every single sprint stage. I don't see anyone challenging him. When Eddie Turns is the biggest challenger, I mean, Meskic looked quite strong, but he's lacking that lead out. Sam Bennett looks poised to take so many wins this Vuelta if the sprint stages pan out to be sprint stages. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you got all the way to this point, I urge you to click that like button down below, as it shows us that you really enjoy this content. And if you haven't already, click that subscribe button as well and the bell next to it. You hear us say it again and again, and you hear other YouTubers say it as well, but it makes such a massive difference for us as creators. I'm going to be back tomorrow delivering the news once again with Vic, but on Wednesday, you'll have Chris back in the show. But until then, we'll see you.